Hi, Lynn.
Hi, Megan.
So I would like to talk to you about Laggies.
Oh, Laggies,
this movie
great.
that you just made.
I would love to talk about Laggies.
Hey, excuse me? We all forgot our IDs. Would you buy a six-pack or something?
Someone did this for me when I was your age. It's like a rite of passage, right?
I had a good feeling about you.
That makes one of us.
The center of Laggies is a 28-year-old woman who's kind of in a late adolescent phase in her life, an extended adolescent phase. She's not exactly a slacker. She has a couple of degrees and she's really smart and she's not desultory. She's kind of been floating in her life a little bit and going along with whatever the current, wherever the current is taking her.
And I know no one like that.
Yeah, neither do I. I don't think anyone can relate to this state.
Generational problem.
It is, seems to be. And it's a kind of an issue that we've seen explored a lot with men, I think, but not a lot with women in that role.
I've waited to do this for so long.
No, whoa, get up. Just a second. I need to lay low for a week.
How'd you like working with Keira Knightley?
I loved working with Keira Knightley. Keira Knightley was, she is a really spectacularly grounded person who's been just unblemished, untainted by all of her great fame that she's experienced in her young life. And she's very easy to communicate with, just very collaborative and very open-hearted towards her fellow actors as well, which meant that the chemistry that needed to be created with her co-stars, namely Chloe, they really, hit it off platonically. They really have a connection that is genuine and very sweet. And I think I've just always been drawn to unlikely relationships. And their off-screen relationship was, kind of paralleled the on-screen one. Like, they really got along. They really genuinely liked and respected each other. And the same went for the other person that was important that she had chemistry with in the film, which was with Sam Rockwell, who plays Chloe's dad.
Dad, you're supposed to knock.
Wow, high school students are looking rougher and rougher these days. Who are you?
It's kind of hard to explain.
Hey, did you hear the one about the grown woman who started hanging out with a bunch of pubescent kids?
No, what?
No, I'd never heard of it before either.
Laggies was one of those rare exceptions. It just immediately struck me as being a story I wanted to tell, characters I cared about, and felt like it was definitely in my wheelhouse. Like, I felt like, oh, this is a good fit. Like, I would really be able to, I think, do this story justice. Mm-hmm. And that was all because this young writer, Andrea Siegel, who wrote it, just really, she has such a great way of making a story that is surprising. It has little surprising twists and turns, and like this unlikely relationship that I referred to before between this teenager and a woman in her late 20s. And yet it's completely believable. They just feel very real. They just sort of leapt off the page as being very genuine.
I don't know what to do with my future, and I gave myself a week.
I never anticipated having to find a place where I fit in by the time I was an adult either.
I really wanted to shoot it here because I love to shoot all my films in Washington State whenever humanly possible. And so I set it, instead of Orange County, I set it on the east side, and then I divided it. It ends up being a little bit of an east side, west side story for the insiders who know about the different cultural milieus of those places. So half of it takes place over on the east side of the lake, and half of it takes place over here in Seattle.
Why do you like, I know why I like to shoot in Washington, but why do you like to shoot
Well,
here?
mostly I'm just selfish. I live here. I live in Seattle, and I don't want to go away somewhere far away to shoot. But so that's a great deal to do with it. But there's this family that sort of emerged of folks that I've worked with again and again, and the crews have sort of shrunken and expanded depending on the size of the production and what's necessary. But it really does, they're my best friends, these crew that I work with in Seattle, and I want to keep collaborating with them and growing with them as artists and giving them an opportunity to actually make a living, and so they can stay here, and so we'll actually have this wonderful, rich incredible pool of talent and this real sense of community. I mean, it's just a wonderful experience to be on the set with all of these lovely folks, and the actors who come in from out of town to work on our productions always notice it and always comment on it, that it's just a really great place and a great sense of support and mutual respect, and everybody sort of lifting each other higher.
You can stay here a little longer if you need to.
Hey,
Do you want to talk a little about if you've noticed personally any, like, have you felt like you've had to work against any, female stereotypes or sort of, have you experienced a lot of friction from that?
Any obstacles from
Yes.
because of my gender?
Yes, that is what I was looking for.
I have to say I don't feel like I've had any obstacles. I'm not a director who came up in the world by sort of beating on the giant door, patriarchally controlled doors of Hollywood. I wasn't begging for millions and millions of dollars from investors who would rather give the money to men. I've sort of built my career on making smaller scale projects and basically just sort of making movies on my own terms and only working with like-minded people. And so, yeah, it really lent itself to just easing the way as a woman, I think.
You are driving around getting chococinos with
Megan, is that your drug dealer?
Yeah, so I do feel like women in cinema having a spotlight festival, an entire festival, or a part of a weekend or a week focused on women in cinema. I have mixed feelings because on the one hand, I don't want people to think of me as, oh, she's a good woman director. I want to just be a good director. I want to make films that, are held up there with men or women or whoever making good films.
You don't want to be the best of a subculture.
You don't want to be the best of a subculture, exactly. So you don't, it's not like something I have sort of mixed feelings about being sort of put into a group of women filmmakers. For instance, I was lucky enough a couple of years ago to be at Sundance when, for the very first time, there was gender parity among directors in the U.S. dramatic competition. It was 8 women and 8 men, and everybody was making a big deal out of it, but it was kind of just like, well, yeah, I mean, this is the way it should be, so sort of like, yeah, finally,
Yeah.
But it felt just sort of normal. And then of course last year it went back to a dismal, a less exciting ratio of more men to women. But at any rate, it's I think it is where we're at in that battle, of trying to get more women, to give more women opportunities. I think it is an important and exciting thing to point out all the great work that is being made, by women. So I'm happy to be have Laggies a part of that SIF event for sure. And
and to show at the SIF Cinema Egyptian.
Oh my God, when the Egyptian closed, when was that, like over a year ago or about a year ago?
About a year, I think.
It was so sad.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in Seattle and I love so many old Seattle theaters, and I have really vivid memories of going to the Varsity, the Harvard Exit. The Egyptian was one of those that always felt like a special event because there's just something extra, I don't know, it's size, it has a certain kind of grandeur to it, and its history, and its location, it's just kind of in a very exciting part.
Yeah.
It really is of the town, and it's one of those institutions that really felt like an institution, like it would always be there. And when I heard that SIF was reopening it, I was so overwhelmed with happiness.
Thanks, SIF.
Yay, SIF. And then this is my largest, I just found out, I was on the way here, I got a call from the distributor A24 that what the plan is for Laggies, which is the biggest release I've ever had in theaters. It's going to be opening in like 250 or 300 screens the first weekend all around the world.
First weekend, 250?
Yes. all around the nation. I know.
Big
So
time.
that'll be October
That is
24th. So
awesome.
I'm super excited about that.
Congrats.
Thanks. Yeah.
I'll go see it in one of those.
Maybe not all hundreds of them,
I'll
but
see how many I can hit.
I really appreciate that. All right. So how many thumbs do you give Laggies?
If I had more than 2, I would give it more than 2, but I only have these.
Thanks, Megan Griffiths.
Thanks, Lynn. It was so fun to interview you.
It's been super fun to be interviewed by you.
And we'll see you at the movies.
See you at the movies.